Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. Today, we're starting a fun, slightly spooky new two-part series, The Origins and Meaning of Halloween ****. You know the feeling, the crisp October air, leaves crunching under your feet, houses glowing with orange lights, kids in costumes running door to door yelling trick or treat, and bowls overflowing with candy. For many people, Halloween is pure excitement. Scary stories, carved pumpkins smiling on porches, friendly ghosts, and that sweet thrill of dressing up as someone or something completely different for one night. But Halloween isn't just a modern party with costumes and sugar rushes. It's a holiday with very old roots, thousands of years deep, blending ancient fears of winter and death, Celtic traditions, Christian holidays, Irish immigrant dreams, and good old American creativity. In my opinion, it's one of the most fascinating holidays because it mixes darkness and light, fear and fun, the past and the present in such a playful way. It reminds us that even scary things can become joyful when we face them together, laugh at them, and share candy. Over these two parts, we'll travel back to misty ancient hills, feel the chill of sound fires, watch how a serious holy day turned into a night of mischief, and see how immigrants brought it to America, where it exploded into the biggest costume and candy celebration on Earth. All in simple, clear, friendly English, so you can enjoy the story, learn new words, and maybe get a little excited for October. This is *** Part 1, Ancient Fires, Spirits, and the Night When the Worlds Were Thin ***, how Halloween began long ago in Europe, why people lit bonfires and wore disguises, and how it slowly crossed the ocean to America. Sit back, maybe turn down the lights a bit just for fun, grab a warm drink, and let's step into the shadows of history together. Here we go. Imagine it's more than 2,000 years ago, long before there was an America or even a calendar with October. In what is now Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and parts of England and France, people called Celts lived in tribes across green hills and dark forests. Their year had two big halves, the bright half spring and summer, full of planting, growing, sunshine, and the dark half autumn and winter, full of cold, short days and danger. For them, the change between these halves was powerful and a little scary. Their most important festival for the dark half was called **Samhain*, pronounced Samhain or Sahwin. It fell around October 31 to November 1, the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. The Celts believed that on Samhain night, the wall between the world of the living and the world of the spirits became very thin. The souls of the dead could come back to visit. Some were kind ancestors coming to check on families. Others were restless or angry spirits who might cause trouble, steal crops, bring bad luck, or even harm people. To celebrate and protect themselves, the Celts did several things that sound very Halloween-like today. First, they lit huge bonfires on hilltops. The fires had two jobs: warm everyone during the cold nights and scare away evil spirits with light and smoke. Druids, the Celtic priests and wise people, threw bones of animals into the flames as offerings. People danced around the fires, told stories, and sometimes jumped over the flames for good luck and to prove they were brave. Second, they prepared big feasts. Everyone brought food from the last harvest: apples, nuts, berries, roasted meats, and bread. Families left extra plates of food outside or at the table for visiting spirits. They believed if the dead were happy and well-fed, they would bring blessings instead of curses. Third, and this is my favorite part, they wore disguises. People dressed in animal skins, painted their faces with soot or ash, or wore masks made of wood or cloth. Why? To trick the spirits. If a ghost or evil being came looking for you, they wouldn't recognize you in costume. You could blend in with the other spirits and stay safe. Some even went from house to house in groups, singing songs or telling jokes in exchange for food, kind of like the very first trick-or-treaters. Sound wasn't all scary. It was also a time of hope. The harvest was over, the community had survived another year, and the new year was beginning. People made predictions about the future, using apples. If the peel stayed long when you peeled it in one piece, you'd have a long life, or nuts thrown into the fire. If they burned quietly, love was coming. If they popped, trouble. It was a night of mystery, community, and looking forward, even in the darkness. Then, around the year 800, Christianity spread across Europe. The church wanted to replace old pagan festivals with Christian ones so people would keep their faith. In the 800s, Pope Gregory IV moved an existing feast called All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Day from May to November 1. Hallows means holy people or saints. The evening before, October 31, became All Hallows Eve, later shortened to Halloween. The next day, November 2, was All Souls' Day, when people prayed for the dead in purgatory. The church kept many sound customs but gave them new meaning. Bonfires reminded people of the light of Christ. Dressing up and going door to door became souling. Poor people, especially children, went from house to house singing prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes, small round breads with currants. If you gave a soul cake, the person prayed for your dead relatives. It was a kind way to help the poor and remember loved ones. Over the centuries in Ireland and Scotland, these traditions mixed and stayed alive. People still lit bonfires, called bonfires, because of the bones thrown in. They carved turnips, not pumpkins yet, into scary faces with candles inside to scare away bad spirits, jack-o'-lanterns. The name comes from an old Irish story about a trickster named Stingy Jack who tricked the devil, died, but couldn't get into heaven or hell, so he wandered forever with a glowing coal in a hollowed turnip. By the 1800s, Ireland and Scotland were full of Halloween fun, bobbing for apples in tubs of water, telling ghost stories by candlelight, playing games like Snap Apple, trying to bite an apple hanging from a string, and young people doing fortune-telling tricks with mirrors or rings. It was a night for young people especially, pranks, mischief, and a little romance, boys and girls guessing who they'd marry. Then came the big change, the Great Famine in Ireland, 1845–1852. Millions starved or left. About 1.5 million Irish immigrants came to America, especially to cities like New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Chicago. They brought their Halloween traditions with them, stories of Samhain, jack-o'-lanterns, costumes, and that mix of spooky and fun. At first, Americans didn't know what to make of it. In the early 1800s, Halloween was barely celebrated here, maybe a few harvest parties or church events, but the Irish newcomers changed that. By the 1870s and 1880s, newspapers started writing about Irish Halloween with bonfires, masked parades, and kids going door to door asking for treats. Americans loved the excitement. They added their own touches. Instead of turnips, they used big orange pumpkins, much easier to carve and already growing everywhere. Pumpkin carving became an American favorite. Pranks got bigger too. In rural areas and small towns, teenagers pulled harmless, and sometimes not so harmless tricks, tipping outhouses, soaping windows, switching shop signs. Cities had costume parades. Schools and churches started hosting tame Halloween parties to keep kids out of trouble, games, cider, donuts, and costumes. By the early 1900s, Halloween was growing fast. Magazines printed ideas for decorations, paper witches, black cats, ghosts made from sheets. Stores sold ready-made costumes, often simple masks and capes. The idea of trick or treat started spreading in the 1920s and 1930s. Kids would say trick or treat at doors, give us candy or we'll play a trick. At first, some adults said no, but soon most houses joined in with candy, apples, or coins. It became a way for neighborhoods to feel safe and connected, everyone participating, no one left out. Wow, what a journey already. We started with ancient Celtic fires on misty hills, moved through Christian holy days, crossed the ocean with brave Irish families, and landed in America, where pumpkins replaced turnips and trick-or-treating became the best part of October. The old spirits and fears are still there, but now they wear funny costumes and carry candy bags. As the 1900s rolled on, Halloween in America stopped being just an Irish import and turned into a full-blown national party. What started with small neighborhood gatherings and a few carved pumpkins grew into costumes sold in every store, haunted attractions that scared thousands, movies that made ghosts feel like friends, and a night when kids rule the streets with pillowcases full of candy. In my opinion, this is when Halloween found its perfect American balance, spooky enough to give you chills, silly enough to make you laugh, and generous enough to bring people together. It became less about ancient fears and more about fun, creativity, and community. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween was everywhere. Magazines like Ladies, Home Journal, and Good Housekeeping printed pages of party ideas, how to make ghost-shaped cookies, how to decorate with black crepe paper and orange streamers, how to play games like bobbing for apples or pin the tail on the witch. Schools and churches threw Halloween socials to keep kids safe and off the streets. These parties had costumes, often homemade from old clothes, sheets, or cardboard, storytelling sessions, and lots of popcorn and cider. The goal was simple: have fun without too much mischief, But mischief still happened, especially in bigger cities and small towns. Teenagers loved pulling tricks, soaping windows with bars of soap it washed off easily, stringing toilet paper in trees, tipping over trash cans, or ringing doorbells and running away. Most pranks were harmless, but some got out of hand. Broken windows, stolen gates, or cars moved a few feet down the street. Newspapers sometimes called it Halloween hooliganism. To fight back, cities and towns started organized trick-or-treating in the late 1930s. The phrase trick or treat appeared in print around 1934–1939, and by the 1940s it was common. Kids knocked on doors saying the magic words, and neighbors gave out candy, apples, popcorn balls, or pennies. It turned potential trouble into a friendly game. Give treats or we'll play a trick. But mostly we just want candy. World War II, 1939–1945, slowed things down a bit. Sugar was rationed, so candy was scarce. Many families made homemade treats, popcorn balls, fudge, or cookies. Kids collected scrap metal or paper for the war effort instead of just candy. Soldiers overseas sent letters home talking about missing Halloween, how they wished for a costume party or even a simple jack-o'-lantern. But when the war ended, Halloween came roaring back stronger than ever. The 1950s baby boom meant millions of little kids, and toy companies jumped in with ready-made costumes: Superman, witches, cowboys, princesses. Plastic masks with elastic bands became the classic look. Hot, sweaty, but magical when you looked in the mirror and saw a monster staring back. The 1960s and 1970s made Halloween even bigger with TV and movies. It's the Great Pumpkin. Charlie Brown aired in 1966 and became an instant tradition. Linus waiting in the pumpkin patch for the Great Pumpkin, Sally's crush, Snoopy as the World War I flying ace. Kids watched it every year, quoting lines like "I Got a Rock." Other specials followed: Rudolph, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but Halloween got its own spotlight. Horror movies grew popular too: Psycho, 1960, Night of the Living Dead, 1968, Halloween, 1978 with Michael Myers. These films made the holiday scarier for adults, but kids loved the thrill. Haunted houses popped up in community centers, schools, and backyards, dark rooms with fake cobwebs, dry ice fog, people jumping out in masks. Some were family-friendly, others were truly terrifying. Safety became a bigger deal in the 1970s and 1980s after a few scary news stories about poisoned candy or razor blades hidden in apples. Most turned out to be hoaxes or very rare. Parents started checking treats, cities moved trick-or-treating to earlier hours or set routes, and Halloween safety tips filled newspapers, wear reflective tape, carry flashlights, go with friends. Trunk-or-treat events started in parking lots. Families decorated car trunks like mini haunted scenes and handed out candy from there. It felt safer and still fun. Commercially, Halloween became huge. Stores filled aisles with costumes, fake blood, plastic skeletons, spider webs, and glow-in-the-dark everything. Candy companies pushed big bags of mini chocolates, gummies, and lollipops. By the 1990s and 2000s, adult Halloween parties exploded: costume contests, themed bars, ugly sweater nights. Wait, that's Christmas, but Halloween got ugly sweaters too. People dressed as pop culture icons, superheroes, movie characters, celebrities, even food items like tacos or avocados. Social media took it to another level in the 2010s. Instagram and TikTok flooded with costume reveals, pumpkin carving tutorials, and viral dance challenges in zombie makeup. Immigrants and diverse communities kept adding new layers. Mexican Americans brought Dia de los Muertos traditions: sugar skulls, marigold flowers, altars with photos of loved ones, pan de muerto bread. Celebrated November 1–2. It often blended with Halloween. Kids trick-or-treated on October 31, then honored ancestors the next days. Asian American families added lanterns or mooncakes in some homes. African American communities hosted block parties with music, food, and elaborate costumes. Halloween became more inclusive, celebrating both the spooky fun and the deeper meaning of remembering those who came before us. Today, Halloween is massive. In the United States, people spend billions on costumes, decorations, and candy every year. Houses turn into haunted wonderlands with animatronic zombies, fog machines, and synchronized light shows. Pumpkin patches are family destinations: hayrides, corn mazes, cider donuts. Adults throw elaborate parties or go to professional haunted attractions. Kids still dress up, sometimes as superheroes, sometimes as TikTok trends, sometimes as their favorite YouTuber. And trick-or-treating remains the heart. Neighborhoods light up, doors open, and strangers smile at each other for one night. Underneath all the flash, the meaning hasn't changed much since those ancient Celtic fires. Halloween is still about facing the dark, winter coming, death, the unknown, and turning it into something light and joyful. We dress up to laugh at fear. We carve scary faces on pumpkins to make them friendly. We go door to door to connect with neighbors. We remember the dead, whether through old stories or modern altars, and celebrate life. It's a holiday that says, the night can be scary, but together, with costumes, candy, and courage, we make it fun. From sound bonfires on misty hills to today's glowing neighborhoods full of superheroes and ghosts, Halloween has traveled far. It's grown louder, brighter, sweeter, and sillier, but it still carries that old magic, a thin veil between worlds, a chance to be someone else, and a reminder that even in darkness, light and laughter win. The pumpkins are carved, the candy bowls are full, the costumes are waiting by the door. Halloween isn't just a night, it's a feeling that comes back every October, ready to surprise us again.